that it's really hard to profit, off the biases like back in the day. So again, now that you're seeing more and more points, I just think we're going to see higher and higher totals. That's how you're going to offset that.
Actually, a couple people have commented this. Ethan says this: everyone adopting the Dan Campbell method in preseason, going for it on fourth down. I noticed that, but Gianni, here's what I noticed. I noticed a lot of coaches and backups trying to win a game. They were playing intense at the end of the half. They were the Bears and Dolphins. They were trying to win at the end of the game. They were going into hurry up mode. There was a lot more aggressive play calling, and I watched the Bears defense get excited when they had a big stop on fourth down. It looked like the intensity of a regular season game. I never remember seeing that in preseason. So I think you got coaches and backups going out saying, hey, we want to see if these guys can win some games. If I get some of these teams that I think look excited to win these games, or, they got a really good backup quarterback situation, I think some of these overs are really, really good. There's obviously some teams that could not care less about them, but you can pick those up and say, nope, not playing those. But I'm looking at team totals on some of these teams that showed, hey, we're excited to try and win some of these games. So that's been my take. New to me was how intense these backups and coaches were taking it. Like, don't go out.
Well, also these offenses,
their
schemes are so advanced. You have to work it in the preseason. Like, these offenses are more complex than ever, especially with all these young coaches coming into the game and changing it up. Remember back in the day, it was like, keep your plays under the hood till the regular season starts. Like, no one wanted to tip their hand. It was a vanilla style preseason. You know what I mean? It was, obviously you want to check out your talent and see who your first, second, third, fourth string and who you're cutting and going through the process. But it was more about keeping everybody healthy and not tipping your hand on what you're going to do during the regular season. But now, again, with these offenses being so much more complex than ever, and the rule changes more or less forcing that hand to become more offensive oriented than ever, you got to get started early in the preseason. And I think there's not as much fear because of the protection of the offensive skill position players that you're going to get your guys hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could let them play a little more in preseason than you would in the past. Because they are really protecting these guys.
Slow Jam says it, ride the Chargers, Trey Lance. I watch a lot of Trey Lance. The best thing about Trey Lance is in preseason, the wide receiver is either wide open or he's just running. It's like they're going to get yards pretty much every single play. He's like the perfect preseason player to try and bet on. Love the Chargers team totals. So we got plenty of NFL preseason this week. Gianni, you mentioned baseball. Let's take a look at the Steam report. We can start in NFL. There's already been big Steam moves. You can talk about some of these NFL games, and of course, I'm going to come back at you and say, I know you get the best of the number, but are they really worth it? So what are we seeing here for some of these?
Yeah, and the only stuff that I saw in the accounts was I saw Miami get bet right away, and because that was going to go through a key number. So I'll tell you now what's in the accounts. Miami -1.5 and 2 is in the accounts. Las Vegas -4 is in the accounts. Giants +1.5 is in the accounts. Baltimore -1.5 is in the accounts. Denver -4 is in the accounts. And I know I saw a total. Where's that total? Oh, over Green Bay, Indianapolis, over 38.5, Green Bay, Indianapolis. So those already are in the accounts. But I didn't release to subscribers yet any of the NFL preseason just because I saw that the Sharps didn't do all that great in week one. You saw Dave Mason put out on Bet Online, his book got cracked. I mean, the players went 5-0, I think, on the most one-sided public. And that's going to happen, man. Sure. That will happen. And you just got to take it slow. There's a lot of weeks. And again, with the preseason, there's a lot of intangibles. A couple weeks to go, and the regular season will be here. So these line moves like this will not be happening in a couple weeks unless you see like a key quarterback go down. Like, not even a skill position player is going to move the line that significantly, unless there's a huge overreaction.
Barely a half a point on some of these big name skill position players. Like,
exactly.
All right, let's take a look at baseball. What line moves do we have there?
All right. The only thing that I see that is opposite the public is Colorado, which for whatever reason, Colorado gets bet every time they're around that 2-1 range. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. You got to win 1 out of 3 games to break even. So as long as they don't get swept in the series, the worst you're going to do betting Colorado is probably break even. If they happen to get lucky and win 2 out of 3 games, you're probably going to find yourself up 4 units, 3 units through the series because they're always big dogs. And we talked about it. The money line becomes the great equalizer. A couple more signs and totals that I see. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee over. That's like so public as well. The account that I saw got over 8 bet into it. Over 8. That was the overnight. This morning I didn't see any over 8.5, but I've been seeing the public accounts getting over 8.5 from that book that I have access to. It's like 100% on the over they're getting. All the bets so far have been tracked on the over 8.5. At -120, -125. So be careful there. 957 San Diego +120, also a public side, but they went under 7.5 up to -125. Public's going over in that one. So they're opposite on Colorado, opposite on the total in San Diego. But Yankees, Minnesota's got steamed over 8.5 up to -125. I saw on the accounts. That's getting public money as well. Detroit at -135 was an overnight. Seeing public money on them also. And then Boston, Houston over 7.5 at even money, which is why it's juiced now at 7.5. But again, over in Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, San Diego, over Minnesota, New York, Detroit, over Boston, Houston, public sharps on the same side. So pay attention to later line moves to see if this was a case of manipulation to set themselves up with a nice scalp later in the day. And the only opposites were the Colorado side and then the under in San Diego. So, yeah, a little slow so far, but it's Monday. Got a lot going on, like you said, with the big week for MMA. UFC signed their new TV deal. That got released. Good news for us. Won't have to pay for pay-per-views anymore once that starts the new year. So, yeah, things are good. Things are looking good.
Kylie was asking about Contender Series. Gianni, you and I talk Contender Series tomorrow. They're doing weigh-ins right now. We're going to make sure all these guys make weigh-ins. We already had a short notice fight last week. So, Kylie, I promise we'll talk a little Contender Series tomorrow. Scott, I'll ask Brian Power about Florida State and their win total. And the strategist asks about tennis. There's some just weirdness going on in tennis this year, Gianni. The players are expressing frustration with the schedule. I would just say tread lightly in tennis. It's a great tournament. Traditionally, it's a really, really competitive one. The big names are playing, but there's just some weird vibes around tennis this year.
Got to be cautious.
All right, Gianni, tell everyone what you have up for clients this Monday.
I already have a UFC 319 package in there with 3 bets already. 5%, big move. I haven't released a 5% this entire August. Already, 11 days in. Again, that's why I'm up over 30% ROI on those 5% big moves. And in the UFC, up over 30, 40 units, the last 365 on those 5%. Again, I haven't fired in a couple of weeks, but I found a nice one for 319, dug deep into this card. I have a 4% in there for you today that I released. And then I gave you guys that 3% free one on Jeff Neal at plus 240. He's now down to plus 210. I think plus 200 or better, you're live there. Easily wins this fight 1 out of 3 times. He's just dangerous everywhere. And I know Prades, even though he lost to Ian Gary, he looked good. He showed that even though he smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, he could go 15 minutes with anybody, which was good for Prades. He got tested, so I know everybody expects him to bounce back. But this is a tough out against Jeff Neal, because if you look at his knockdown ratio, you'll be impressed. Prades may appear to have the power, and he's willing to land one, take 2 to land his 1. But against Neal, that's a recipe for disaster. He's got some pop. He's got grappling. And again, he's just, workman-like as they come. At plus 200 or better, I love Jeff Neal. Like I said, I gave it out 3% to subscribers at plus 240. Market's moved our way so far. Great card. UFC on the line will be today, live 6 p.m. Eastern on UFC Fight Pass. You could check that out as well. And Contender Series tomorrow, baby, on ESPN Plus. I'll be there live.
All right. Thanks, Gianni. Appreciate it. Let's have a great Monday. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Guys, hit the like button, please. I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Football season is here. You get notified whenever we have these breakdown videos, whenever a show goes live. So make sure you're subscribed. join the WagerTalk family here on YouTube. Let's bring in Bill Krackomberger. We got to talk a little bit of, he always comes in and does an MLB prop, but Bill, what was your take on the first week of NFL preseason?
Bloodbath.
Okay.
No, but I mean, every single pro I know, it's only about 2 or 3 actually, 3 of them, had great line moves. I mean, we had Buffalo +3. They were -3, and then they took back some money right at game time. But I know some guys were asking me, "Hey, should I take 3 on the other side?" I don't, but if they want to, I'm sure the value is now when it moves 6 points is on the other side. But however, these things happen, and I thought Buffalo should have won if you watched the end of the game. I mean, first and goal at the 3-yard line, and with plenty of time, they couldn't get it in the end zone, even though they called a touchdown and called it back. But that was just one of them, though. This was some variance that you normally preseason normally you don't get that, so it happens. You have to have bankroll management. You have to not go crazy on the late games, and those overs were amazing this week, though. But if you remember, last couple seasons, these overs first week has been the way to go on a lot of these things. I really didn't. I'm just saying that the overs were really out there. And you know what? I even thought now week 2 they were going to be adjusted off of week 1, and you're going to see a lot of 40s. I only seen like 3 at 40.5, 41.5. There wasn't really a lot. There's still a lot of 37.5, 38.5s out there. I expect a little bit more, especially because your starters will play a little more in week 2. Unlike week 3, we just want to get them ready for the 2 weeks from then. So I expect to see a little more. So after I see these numbers, I expect to see some line movement towards the overs. But a very rare week where all the sharps got killed on betting, and it's betting off of information too, betting off of starters, betting off of coaches. So I expect a much better week this week, and preseason has been my bread and butter for years. So, it's funny when you have a losing week or something like that, a winning handicap or lifetime, it's probably the time to get on them. If you're hitting 45% or something, and you're a lifetime 55% capper, well, now you have to return to the mean a little bit, and it's time to jump back on them, in my opinion. So I've always said that. I've worked with some great people over the years: Alan Boston, Billy Walters, Doyle and Chip. I've worked a lot of really sharp syndicates in my life, and that I always found that to be the case. Sometimes you have to almost coddle the originator a little bit. They doubt themselves, even though they won. I'm not joking. Even though they won the previous 3 years in preseason football, you have to work with your guys and say, listen, it's one weekend. Relax. It's not.
Yeah.
You have to know short-term variance. Like, I've been around this so long, I'm gonna lose 45 games out of 100. I mean, it's just it is what it is, But anyway, yeah, a lot of the sharp guys. Matter of fact, like I said, there's 3 groups, and I'm gonna consider myself one of them. We all lost this week, and we had plenty of CLV, plenty of closing line value, and hey, it just happens. I think we're going to be geared up for a great week 2 and 3, especially 3. Week 3 is always really good too.
Love it, Bill. I'm going to keep my eye on the team totals. That's what I focused on this weekend in NFL preseason. So let's talk a little MLB. We have a question in the chat from Travis. He was asking about what are the what sports books have the most baseball betting options here in Vegas?
It's a great question, Travis, because you're right. There aren't a lot of betting options. Like, if you're back east, you have the FanDuels, you have the DraftKings, and many, many other ones that, Bet365, all these other ones that of course don't let me play. But however, if you're betting $100, $200, you should have some longevity there, especially if you're betting some NFL on Sundays. There's a good tip. So if you're betting hot stuff all week long, make sure you give them some action on NFL. I don't care if you're, laying 7 with them, and then somewhere else you're taking 7 plus 7 minus 0.5 and losing a little money. You just want longevity in the account. So you don't. Joe Public bets on Sunday. You don't want to not bet on Sunday. How many people I've worked with are total bugs that they want to bet steam all week and then leave the account blank Sunday when his NFL's there, which is the most popular betting sport. You have to make the accounts look good. So go back to the question. I'm going to say BetMGM has tons of ways to bet baseball. Caesars, which doesn't allow me to play, threw me out for winning, but Caesars, William Hill brands, I would think they have many different ways and many options. Someone told me over at Coast, which copies the FanDuel line, if you're a low limit bettor, I think Coast has lots of options too. Probably more of an undercover out there too. Check out Stations too. I mean, I'm not allowed to play, but check out Stations. Even though these books don't let me play, hey, I'll give them credit for letting other people play and having lots of different lines up there. So I think that answers Travis' question.
Love it. Love it. All right. MLB prop. Come on and give us an MLB prop. What's one you like today?
Yeah, let's go to the Dodgers and let's go to Yoshi Yamamoto. I can't believe I said that name so perfectly.
Great. Spot on, man. You nailed that. That was really good.
Over 6.5 strikeouts. Over 6.5 minus $1.45. He's up against the Angels lineup tonight that has just the number one strikeout rate for right-handed pitchers. So he is over this number 4 of his last 5 road starts. So this season should be able to get number 6 here. I'm sorry, should be able to get 6 innings here. So should be able to get 6 innings of work here against an Angels team that's just been having so many problems hitting the curveball and stuff. So I do like that over 4.5, over 6.5 minus $1.45. Yamamoto strikeouts tonight. Hopefully that gets you guys there, get you a little action. There'll be some preseason moves here. Not a big enough market right now, Andy, to be honest with you. Now what I say by that is the Vegas books aren't up yet. So Westgate, Circa, the Vegas books win. They're not up yet with their preseason lines. Real tough to bet on these preseason stuff without having a full market. Because I'm trying to bet some good volume. So, but we'll have some this week.
Love it. I think Kylie was a Bill. Do you like Dodgers team total over 4.5? Any opinion on that one?
Team total. Well, I mean, listen, I'm not an over player, to be honest with you. The props I can bet over on a lot of things. Team total, I mean, you're talking about one of the best teams in baseball. It's not the best team, but not the team we thought they were going to be. But so that situation there, I'm not giving out a play, but if anything, I would lean to the over. Under my head, I lean to the over there, but again, not playing that.
Okay, so non-official play, and hey, that's perfectly fine. We got to make sure we tell, hey, this is something I would or would not play with my own money. So very important. So awesome having you on, Bill. What do you have everyone up for clients on this
Thank you.
Monday?
Thanks. No, hey guys, jump on the preseason. I don't, or even a monthly package, just where you get some of those NFL props and stuff. But yeah, it should be great. We have some futures up, NFL futures. I've been really good at futures. Lifetime, ridiculous, on NFL futures. But you have to tie your money up. So, but at least you have action every week, for the next 4 months. You do have that. But I have some really good futures up, and I'm sure I'm going to have more before kickoff of the regular season.
Love it. Bill Krackomberger, always love having you on. And we got a lot of more NFL preseason and regular season. Bill Krackomberger, Crackman. And of course, we'll get some restaurant recommendations next week. So, guys, WagerTalk Insiders, make sure if you have not joined the WagerTalk Insiders, it gets you access to exclusive content on our WagerTalk YouTube page, emojis, badges, all that fun stuff. But it's only $2.99 a month, and you get a $5 coupon at the beginning of each month. And we're going to start rolling out some content that you're only going to be able to get. So that is at wt.buzz/insiders. So we already have people signing up. Scott Fells, see you in here today. And again, you're a WagerTalk Insider. We're going to be answering your questions. So appreciate all you guys who have joined. And if you haven't joined, it's no-brainer. $2.99 a month. You get a $5 coupon? Yeah, no brainer. So, all right. We also still are running our 3-day flex pass schedule. It is only $48. You want to get your week started off on a good note. Saves you over 30%. All about flexibility. You choose the handicapper you trust every day. You get to play the release. You want to use somebody on Monday. You can use somebody different on Tuesday, somebody different on Wednesday, or you want to save it up for the weekend, you can do that as well. It's your picks. It's your way. 3-day flex pass, 30% off, only $48. Don't miss it. All right, let's go all around the world. let's give some plays. And I actually wanted to do this segment before Brian Power comes on because, Brian, I want you to take a look at these, and we're going to talk about one of these. I have Padres and Giants. I have the Giants over 3.5 on their team total. I'm fading Darvish. He basically has one good start this year. 2 games ago, and then the very next game, he only goes 4 innings and has 3 earned runs. He has an ERA over 6.5. Giants, terrible offense over the weekend, but before those, 7 straight games with over 3.5 runs. It's not a client play, and I'm going to let you tell everyone why. I bet you have the exact reason why it didn't quite make the card. Pirates at Brewers. We're just going right back to the Brewers, -1.5. Brewers won 9 straight, 12 out of last 13. Quinton off a quality start. Pirates, fewest runs in baseball. And then UEFA. Kevin Dolan gave you guys a winner for over the weekend. We're going to go right back to him. I believe it's pronounced carrot. Kind of like the vegetable against Slovan Bratislava. He likes Slovan in regulation. This is the second game that they're going to play in this series. Leg 1 was brutal. Bratislava had 2 red cards and a penalty kick. They really haven't lost a meaningful game at this venue since early March, so it's a little bit juicy, -160, but he says it's absolutely worth it. They're coming off a nightmare game. Expect a nice bounce back spot. All right, Brian, get in here. All right. So why do you think I couldn't quite get there on the Giants over the 3.5 team total? Why could I not get there as a client play?
Wow, what a awkward return to the program here, Andy. After a week off, I'm very happy to be back last week because I think not being able to make the spot last week gave me some negative juju. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But why I'm guessing you did not want to make it the Giants team total over 3.5. Part of your official client card is, well, the Giants offense at home typically is not very good. Now, we all know historically, Oracle Park has been friendly to the pitchers, right? It is what we call a pitcher's park. This year, it's been kind of even more pitcher friendly than normal, and no team knows that better than the Giants themselves. Second lowest scoring home team in all of baseball this season, Andy, just 3.63 runs per game. Now, that is 3.63. You don't need to be a math major to know that it's higher than 3.5. So, look, there's a chance Andy's team total could be right, and what I'm about to give you could be right as well. You mentioned the bad offense for the Giants over the weekend. Sunday, they were shut out by the Nationals, and this is really damning here. They were shut out by a Nationals team that has the highest bullpen ERA in all of baseball, 5.88, and was starting Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore came into that game in horrible form. This is an even tougher matchup against the Padres, which I'm sure you had to note there, Andy. They have the number 1 bullpen ERA in all of baseball. I agree. Darvish isn't great, although he has allowed just 5 hits in his last 2 starts. The silver lining for San Francisco, and perhaps this is why maybe Andy's team total and the full game under, which is what I am endorsing here in case you haven't figured that out, may both hit. Logan Webb starting for the Giants tonight. And they talk about bullpens. I mentioned Padres number 1 in bullpen ERA. Well, the Giants are number 2. So we've got the 2 top bullpens in all of baseball. Handicapping bullpens, as you know, Andy, has become more and more important each and every year in Major League Baseball. Webb, he's pitched traditionally much better at home. Comes off back-to-back dominant starts against the Pirates, who I know you noted a few moments ago are the weakest lineup in baseball. But Webb, 21 strikeouts in 11 2/3 innings pitched in those 2 starts against the Pirates. I like it. He allowed just 2 runs. San Diego only 23rd in runs per game overall, guys, and they averaged fewer than 4 on the road. To sum it all up, all signs point to the under 7 on this one. I think that is in line. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. I was just joining, as mentioning it with Gianni, that Sharps jumped on the under. I put the free play under 7.5 on my page. People could check that out, WT.BuzzBP. But I would still play it at 7 just for a smaller amount.
Yeah, just so we're clear, Brian got assigned the Padres and the Giants, and I thought that was a good segue. So, yeah, you like the under, and, yeah, you're 100% right. I had a bunch of things, like, going in my favor that I liked it, and I was like, I can't play this Giants team at home. They go over on the road every time, and then they come home. And it's like they're holding the bats the opposite way. Like
look, on the Power 5
barrels.
On the Power 5 yesterday, Andy, I endorsed the full game over with them in the Nationals, thinking, hey, because the Nats are a top 10 team in scoring on the road. And I was like, well, Giants, they're facing Gore and this hideous bullpen. All we needed was one run to send that game over. Instead, it was a push at 8. The Nats scored all. If you would have told me going into that game, Nats are going to score 8 runs, BP, I'd say, well, we're going to be dancing in the streets with an easy over, I do believe. Well, guess what? We were not, because the Giants forgot to score. But hey, just because maybe we're looking at things a little different doesn't mean Andy and I can't both be right on this game, folks. Giants could win it 4-2, and we're both winners.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk a little college football. We asked you to come here with a team that you're looking to fade. We had a question in the chat about Florida State, and you said, oh, this will work out pretty well together. So floor is yours. Just talk to us about college football here.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody asked about Florida State. The WagerTalk powers that be will be happy with me, as I, as always, challenge the algorithm and will be bringing you my take on Marshall, which I'm sure everyone is lining up here in the chat room to listen about. You guys are going to want to fade Marshall. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But for the comment about Florida State, and this is going to kind of tie into what I'm saying about Marshall in a little bit. The books, obviously, Andy, have gotten so much sharper at pricing in the expected improvement or regression from these teams. You take a look at Florida State. This is a team obviously off a disastrous season, maybe the worst season in history in Tallahassee. They win just 2 games. Well, they're priced at 6.5 wins. And they open with Alabama. That's likely to be a loss. Nevertheless, I mean, I agree with what the books are doing. I just don't see any value at a highly juiced 6.5 towards the over, right? They're going to win more games. We know they're going to be an improved football team in 2025, the Seminoles. It's just that there's no value in betting that right now. The books are saying everybody expects Florida State to improve. I do think, looking at the schedule in the ACC, they play two of their 5 ACC road games are against the crummier teams in the conference. So I think they will probably go over. I just don't see a lot of value in that number. I mean, if you love Florida State, I would say bet them to make the conference championship game. Take a flyer on that. I think we all expect Clemson to be there. But as for the second team, by rule, it has to be 2 teams in that game, Andy. I think there's a little confusion as who that second team may be. So, that might be, if you're looking for value on Florida State, take a flyer on it, have some fun, bet them to make the conference championship game. Because I think SMU takes a step back this year, quite frankly.
I love it. What else you got for us in college football? Anything juicy? Anything sexy?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes, I guess I have my take that I didn't even get. Marshall. This is a team that you're going to want to fade, guys. Now, why do you want to fade Marshall? It's a team that's probably off your radar a little bit, but there is a lot of reasons to fade. This is basically the opposite of Florida State this year, in the sense that this was a team that won 10 games in 2024, and, well, they're not going to win 10 games in 2025. Andy, you go back to right before the bowl last year's Sun Belt champs, that was Marshall. They didn't even get to enjoy winning the conference title because head coach Charles Huff, he bolts for rival Southern Miss and basically took half the team with him. And things got so dire for Marshall. They had just 41 players left on the roster and ended up having to pull out of their scheduled bowl game versus Army. Couldn't even field a team. So hope they enjoyed that Sun Belt Conference Championship trophy. But coming into 2025, books are expecting a massive drop-off here. How big of a drop-off? They went 10-3 last year, like I said, and are now projected for just 4.5 regular season wins. That number opened 5.5. So even that wasn't low enough for a lot of sharp bettors. And the reason for this bleak forecast, guys, only 4 starters back for Marshall. Their 3rd least returning production in the country. Tony Gibson's the new head coach. He's never been a head coach previously. And here's the key when you kind of open up the hood, so to speak, on 2024 Marshall. They were not a particularly good team last season, despite winning the Sun Belt. They were outgained during conference play. In fact, no team that finished with a winning conference record last year was outgained more than Marshall. So it was a really phony record. They were 4-1 in 1-score games, plus 10 in turnover margin. They won't have that kind of good fortune this year. And if you think 4.5 is too big of an adjustment on the win total, we talked about this with Florida State. I think game-by-game basis, plenty of opportunities to fade the Thundering Herd, especially when conference play starts. I mean, obviously, they're huge underdogs to Georgia in the opener. I'm not going to exactly be running to the window to lay the points with Georgia there. And then you've got a new FBS team, Missouri State, and an FCS team, Eastern Kentucky. So may leave those alone. But once it's Sun Belt time, Andy, fade fade on Marshall. I think there's a chance they could go from winning the conference to last in their division. The Sun Belt is, of course, the last conference to still have divisions. This is the number one regression team in all of college football, I believe.
Man, it's right up my wheelhouse, Brian, because I've always said, hey, it's hard to be great every night for these teams. Like, just look at the Dodgers, but bad is bad. It's hard for a bad team to just all of a sudden play great. So I like focusing on teams and individual athletes we can fade. Yes.
Yeah, and going back to the coaching change that Marshall had with Charles Huff leaving for Southern Miss, this is incredible. Southern Miss has more returning starters from Marshall on its roster this year than Marshall has on its own roster. That's how much Huff took. Huff just pillaged the program in Huntington. I feel bad. I had a great time in Huntington, West Virginia, about, 30 years ago. I saw Randy Moss's last regular season game against my alma mater, Ohio University. He threw the touchdown out of the stadium into a McDonald's parking lot.
I mean, this is 2025, baby. You have more players going to another school than returning to it is wild.
Yeah, the one they played on last year. Yep.
Amazing. All right, Brian Power, tell everyone what you have up for clients on this Monday.
Yeah, so you have until tomorrow to get on board this special offer. We're doing 30 days for $199. I think it's a great deal. We have not had a losing record in any month this year, Andy. Now, August, I alluded to this earlier, August is off to not the start that I was hoping for. It was actually just a bad weekend, culminating yesterday. Still I'm in kind of a bad mood, Andy. I mean, I may not have shown it. I always try to put a smile on my face when I come on the program, but in a little bit of a bad mood from yesterday. I had the Mets as a 4% play. They were up 5-0 on the Brewers. The Mets did not win that game. They lost in walk-off fashion. I don't know what voodoo the Brewers have under their caps, but tip your cap to them. They're doing well. But despite the kind of rough weekend here, we have not had a losing record any month this year, and we're going to try to. That means it's a great time to get on board because I've lost a couple days. I'm just 1-4 the last 3 days, so great time to get on board. We bounce back 30 days for $199. Not only does that get you baseball, it's not just baseball. It gets you the start of college football, the Blitz, by the way, coming up in 10 days. The Blitz will be making its debut here on WagerTalk TV live every Thursday at 1 p.m. So you're going to get all my college football to start the season, all my NFL, the first week of NFL, regular seasons included, and European soccer starts this week. And I know you were talking a little bit soccer a few moments ago. La Liga and the EPL get going this weekend. Very excited about that. Nobody's been more profitable betting soccer than me going back to April of 2024, up 61.6 units on the pitch.
Nice. Great stuff, Brian. Great breakdowns. And yeah, you're right. We were talking earlier about I'm on a 13-2 run. You're just terrified. You're like, I know it's coming. But yeah, you have a couple down days. Yeah, that's the time to get on. But it's counterintuitive to tell people that. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. You'll get it on track. And I'm following your streak about winning months, man. That's amazing. Yeah, that's a hell of it's a hell of a streak.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. So we've lower volume. Around we've gone to that, and it's worked out, I think, for the most part in all sports. We had that great finish to the NBA season. Right now, it's just baseball right now, but excited, obviously, for football and football to get back in onto the betting board.
All right, Brian Power, and we got the Blitz coming up. Brian's going to be hosting that show. Get you ready for all of the top games in college football. Dan and I are going to break down the Bucs. Got to tell you guys, 5% UFC play for UFC 319 has already gone up. Already knew what that play was going to be. Coming off of a sweep, including a 5% win. So we're on a 4-0 run in UFC. We're seeing it really, really well, and this 5% play had to go up. Don't care about the lines. The lines have not moved hardly at all, so you can lock that in. I'd get it in ASAP. And here's what I'm going to do for the next 10 weeks. My $5 Tuesday play is going to be a Dana White Contender Series play. Let's see what we can do. Every Monday night, I'm going to put up a $5 Dana White Contender Series play. It works perfect, Dan. The play is on Tuesday night. We follow Contender Series as much as anybody. We do a live Dana White Contender Series show. So for the next 10 weeks, my $5 Tuesday play is just going to be the best bet on Contender Series. So get ready for that. Every Monday night, I will have that up. So, all right, Dan, come on in here. Let's talk the Bucs.
Woo!
I mean, I will always remember last year for the Baker Mayfield over 1.5 touchdown passes just every single week.
The gift that just kept on giving. And the number wasn't even bad. Like that was truly the rinse, wash, and repeat. And it kind of underscores what the really, latter half of the career of Baker Mayfield has been, is just sneaky, solid production through and through. And, a great wide receiving core doesn't hurt that. And, that's what you have in this team. So, yeah, with the heading into this year, I don't know, Andy, I know that we both probably have some thoughts on this squad, but I don't know. Why don't you set it up and talk this schedule? Because the schedule, that's where it starts getting a little bit tough talking about optimism for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in my opinion.
My number one team that I think you're going to get an incredible line live throughout the season. This is why I won't be playing anything on the Bucs to start the season. They're 10-7 last year. Off-season moves. They lose their offensive coordinator. I'm just going to throw that Chris Godwin's probably not 100% to start the season. They did draft a rookie wide receiver that looks, by all accounts, he's going to be legit. They did get Hassan Reddick. A little bit of a head case, but they invested a few years. Hopefully that works out. They got Levante David. They took care of their left guard. They signed the left guard last year to 1 year, and he was great, so they got him locked up for 3 years. We talked about the Steelers and how PFF ranked them, great on defense. And this is the complete opposite. PFF.
This is fair.
6th for running backs, 2nd for wide receivers, 6th in offensive line. On defense. Terrible. 27th defensive line, 25th linebackers, 22nd secondary. That's why props on this Tampa Bay team are just great. It's like the Bengals. They can't stop anybody. They get in these shootouts. I mean, it's wild. All right, we mentioned the schedule. Here's how they start. At Falcons, at Texans, Jets, Eagles, at Seahawks, 49ers, at Lions, at Saints, bye. Then here's where I think they can do some damage. They go Patriots at home. They go at Bills, at Rams, Cardinals, but then they finish. I don't know if it gets better than this. Saints, Falcons, at Carolina, at Miami, home Carolina. That has got
the Carolina is what gets you there. You know what I mean? I think
Carolina's
they split.
Not great.
Yeah, I think they split with Atlanta, but at least you have a Miami team. What are they going to look like? They're a kind of team who seems like they always start off strong and then fade off. So you're getting them historically on what's going to be a good spot. But it's not an overbearingly easy schedule. I think the easiest part of the schedule, Andy, is that you get to play in the NFC South. And on paper, you should have 4 guaranteed wins right there. So now you're just looking for 5.5 wins on the schedule. I mean, Saints, they've also looked awful in the preseason. Again, there's no indicator there, but they're looking like they should be every bit as awful as promised. Panthers, who knows? They're a team who might be able to keep up with teams in scoring, especially against a defense like this. However, I like the answers that Tampa Bay has made defensively. They got better defensively in the offseason. However, that depth is non-existent on the defensive side of the ball. So, injuries are always, the ultimate equalizer. Last year, they were one of the more injured teams in the league. So does that kind of regress to the mean? You got to hope so defensively, because you really don't have any depth to speak of at really any level of the defense. So that's what would worry me about this team going over. But Andy, just like Baker Mayfield, in his second half of his career, this is the team that always, 8.5 wins last year, they got 10 wins. When they were 6.5 wins the year before, they got 9 wins. So this is a team who consistently just over exceeds expectations. And that was even going 2-5 in 1-score games last season, which we know that's something that typically flip-flops from year to year. Teams that are bad in 1-score games, maybe having a bounce that doesn't quite go their way. Outside of the defensive concerns, with the depth there, the other part that worries me, Andy, is outside of Bucky Irving, really your star players are all aging, right? Mike Evans goes over 1,000 yards every single year, which is great. But what's the year when he's finally not going to go over 1,000 yards? Could it be 1,000 yards? Could it be this year?
He also goes
that
over.
Remains to be seen.
He also goes over his massive hamstring strain total every
Exactly. Yet still somehow finds 1,000 yards. So that's why I was excited when they bring in Emeka Egbuka. I think he could make an impact immediately on this team, especially in the stead of Godwin. You hear me? I'm excited for this team. I think they're going to be a solid team. I think they get to play in a bad division. You know that I have Atlanta Falcons potentially winning this division, but I think these two teams are going to push each other. I think I give Atlanta the edge simply because their schedule is a bit easier, which is hard to say because Tampa Bay's looks even easy in some stretches here. But our man Sean is going to love this. It's an ever slight lean to the over, Andy. Depends on what happens in division. I'm going over the 9.5 wins, but for what it's worth, I'm with you, man. I wouldn't bet this before the season. I think that 9 number is a spot on one. I think this 9.5 is really good, but like you said, you stumble out of the gate here a little bit. This is a team that you will be able to bet in season, get a hell of a lot of a better number, and also have a read on what their injuries are going to look like.
Here's what I'm praying for. I'm praying they stumble out of the gates, and then they have this Jets, Eagles, at Seahawks, 49ers, at Lions stretch.
Yeah.
I want to see some losses there because then I get them at Saints and then a bye. Oh, give me 7.5. Give me a great 7.5, 8.5.
Well, and JP makes a good point here. Is it kind of is the race to 9 or 10 for winning this division, right? That's where it's who gets there. So you might not need to expend some stuff down the stretch if the Falcons fall off a little bit, because I doubt you're going to be getting pushed by this version of the Saints and this version of the Panthers, right?
Agreed, 100%. I will say for the purposes of this segment, lean over, but
don't bet.
This is going to be. It's no way is it a bet, but man, this is going to be a great team to bet props on. This is going to be a great team in season on their win total. So,
Egbuka is also a great fantasy late round pick. Or if he's on waivers, just so you know, for you fantasy players out there, I'm very bullish on him. I think he's going to fit in very well with Baker.
Absolutely. Isn't it funny? Baker gets out of the Browns organization and flourishes. It's just like good. That organization just sucks
death taxes and players being better when they're out of Cleveland. Those are the 3 guaranteed things in the world.
Amazing. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Again, 5% UFC best bet is up, and a $5 contender series play will be up later today. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're going to do it again all over tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for joining us on this Monday. Good luck on your bets, and take care.
5 free Major League Baseball plays for Monday, August 11th. Some appetizing underdogs on the docket, to say the least. Stay tuned for which ones I like as I am going through today's Power 5. Do me a favor, though. Anytime you agree, smash that like button. We're going to start in Milwaukee, where the red-hot Brewers continue to roll. They'll be hosting the last-place Pirates tonight at 7:40 Eastern. The Brew Crew have won 9 in a row and just broke my heart on Sunday, rallying from an early 5-0 deficit to beat the Mets 7-6 in a walk-off fashion. All 3 games of that series saw the Brewers fall behind early. They have the best record and run differential in the sport right now. But guess what? I'll take the +1.5 with the Pirates here. Surprise, surprise. Pirates have a winning record since the All-Star break, even after back-to-back losses Saturday and Sunday. They're also the team that has played the most one-run games in all of baseball, 47 to be exact. Win or lose, if this ends up being another one-run game, we're cool with it. Doesn't matter if they win or lose, as long as it's one run. The game's decided by one run. 3 of Milwaukee's last 4 wins have come by exactly one run. Remember, they score about a 1.5 per game less at home than on the road. They're starting the starting pitching matchup on Monday. Heaney for Pittsburgh, Quintana for the Brewers. I have that basically rated as a wash. Heaney has, though, allowed fewer runs over his last 3 starts than has Quintana. So take the +1.5 with Pittsburgh there. Number 2, Nationals Royals, also a 7:40 Eastern start. Big edge offensively here for the Nats, as mentioned again on yesterday's show. The Nats are a top 10 offense on the road in terms of runs per game. They scored 8 runs on Sunday in San Francisco, where we had to settle for a push with the over because the Giants didn't score at all. Decent chance the Royals won't score many runs tonight either, though, because not only is KC dead last in all of MLB when it comes to runs per game at home, just 3.2 runs per game they average at Kauffman Stadium, but they'll be facing Cade Cavalli, who threw 4 2/3 shutout innings in his return to the big leagues last week. Nice story there. KC is also coming off a brutal extra innings loss in Minnesota on Sunday. Not a Bailey Falter guy either. The left-hander allowed 7 runs in his Royals debut last week, so grab the Nationals as underdogs. Nice price, I think, there on the money line. Number 3, let's talk here about the Diamondbacks and Rangers. Those of you with Amazon Prime can watch this game for free on that streaming service. The Rangers coming off a bad weekend. They got swept here at home by the Phillies, really put a dent in their wild card hopes. Now, Nathan Eovaldi's going to start Monday's series opener for the home team. Over his last 6 starts, not only are the Rangers a perfect 6-0, but Eovaldi has allowed just 2 runs, just 2, in 38 2/3 innings pitched. But Arizona comes in having won 6 of 8 overall. They swept Colorado over the weekend. I know it's Colorado, so that doesn't mean much. Nevertheless, D-backs playing well, and Ryan Nelson gets the start tonight. He's been really good. Every bit as good as Eovaldi, quite frankly, as of late. Over his last 10 starts, Nelson has allowed 2 runs or fewer 9 times. So he's in great form. Remember, the Rangers just 28th in scoring at home. I'll call for the upset here. D-backs, money line. Number 4, Red Sox and Astros, 8:10 Eastern. Red Sox swept the Astros in Boston to start the month. That was part of a 7-game win streak for the club. But Sox, they've now dropped 3 of their last 4 games. Here on the show yesterday, I said to bet against them in the first 5 innings versus San Diego. That proved to be correct. Tonight, Sox have their best starter, Garrett Crochet, going. Team is 6-0 in Crochet's last 6 starts. Nevertheless, I don't think the Sox should be this big of a favorite in Houston, where the Astros are 35-24 on the season. In fact, Sox are such big favorites tonight that we can grab the Stros +1.5 at a pretty cheap price, around -120. Rarely does that happen. Houston did just do Boston a favor by winning 2 of 3 at Yankee Stadium over the weekend. Astros run line is the play here. All right. After kind of going contrarian on you for the first 4 plays, I'll tell you to do the obvious here in Dodgers Angels, and that's bet the Dodgers. This is actually a revenge spot for the Dodgers. They were swept by the Angels at home back in May. Okay, you can argue it was back in May. Do they really remember that? I think they do. I think they remember getting swept by their crosstown rival, embarrassing and the Dodgers are in a pennant chase right now. They're going to want to win here. Yamamoto starting tonight. He tossed 5 2/3 shutout innings his last time out. Meanwhile, for the Angels, Soriano allowed 7 runs in his last start. If you're cool laying the big price, I say do it here. Again, I have no clue how the Angels have been able to kind of stay within striking distance of 500 most of the year. They are one of the top home run hitting teams in baseball, but I just think the Dodgers a lot better, and I am sure you agree. All right, recap time here on the Power 5. Let's go through the 5 plays one more time. Number 1, we like the Pirates plus 1.5 on the run line against the Brewers. How many of you are willing to do that? I'd be interested to hear. Number 2, Nationals money line plus 130 against the Royals. Number 3, Diamondbacks, another underdog, another nice fat plus price here. We're going to take them against the Rangers. Number 4, Astros, get the 1.5 head start on the run line against the Red Sox. It's not often. You only have to lay minus 120 to get plus 1.5 with the Astros at home. And then we'll take a bigger favorite here with our last one, Dodgers against the Angels, as the NL West leaders look for revenge. Go ahead and comment down below with your thoughts on those plays. If there is another game you want some intel on, go ahead, ask away. If I see the question in time, I'll be more than happy to answer. Or if you simply want to let us know what you'll be betting on Monday, feel free to share that down below as well. Then head on over to wt.buzz/BP. Click the link in the description below and take advantage of this special offer. As you can see on your screen, the special offer ends tomorrow. You can get 30 days worth of plays for $199. That's every pick I release for the next month, not just Major League Baseball, but the start of European soccer and the start of college football as well. I believe that will actually also cover you for week 1 of the NFL season. I should be mentioning that too. Week 1 of the NFL season right around the corner. I understand, guys, that over the last 3 days, we've had a bit of a downturn. I own it. Always honest with you. But again, we are up well over 50 units since May 24th. I have not had a losing record in any month this year during 2025. So I bring that up to say, let's buy low on me. I think it's going to be a big week here as we bounce back from what was a rough 3 days. I mentioned the play yesterday earlier. Our only play was a 4% best bet on the Mets. You have a 5-0 lead early. Guys, you got to I know the Brewers have been hot and the Mets have not been, but the Mets had to close that out. I really, really liked that play. And nevertheless, it was a loser 7-6. We lost in walk-off fashion, but I think we get it back today. And by the way, yes, week 1 of the NFL regular season is September 4th. So that you will be covered right now if you get this 30-day package, the first week of NFL. All right, that's going to do it for the show today. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, like and subscribe. Always appreciate the support of the Power 5. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Power 5, but you can also catch me on WagerTalk today with Andy Lang in the noon Eastern hour. Hope to see you then. Until next time, let's cash some tickets.
Welcome to WagerTalk TV. Kelly Stewart here with Marco D'Angelo and Teddy Covers of WagerTalk.com. And we're talking about common mistakes sports bettors make. Marco, what is the number one mistake that sports bettors make?
Overreaction to one game. Okay, you see something, you watch a game, and we all love watching the games and betting on them, but don't believe that what you just saw is gospel. Remember this quote. I use it on Bet On It all the time. No team is as good as their best game, nor are they as bad as their worst game. And too often, you see somebody get blown out on a Monday Night Football game. What are you doing the next week? You're betting the team that won, and you're going against the team that lost. There's no value there. That's my first tip.
Teddy, you have a show called The Opening Line Report on Wager Talk, and you guys talk about what we saw. What did sports bettors learn was also a segment on Wager Talk today. Tell me how much that actually should go into your handicap, or should it not go in there at all?
Well, you certainly want to be aware of teams that are playing better and teams that are playing worse, and in general, I'm looking to ride streaks as opposed to jump in front of them. Not so much in the NFL, though. I mean, the NFL is a different animal, and different sports are different animals in that way, because the NFL is so public, everything that happens gets captured in the attention of the betting populace quickly, whereas in a sport like baseball or basketball, Someone played good one game, maybe they'll play good for another month before anyone, the betting markets start to notice. So, I mean, literally, you can go for weeks on end before the betting markets adjust. That's not the case when it comes to football and one game a week. So you'll often see people overreact far too much to a single good or two good performances in a row, especially when you see, they won twice in a row, they killed them twice in a row. That third week, maybe not so much.
All right, give me your number one mistake the sports bettors make.
The single biggest mistake sports bettors make is not having enough outs or sports books to bet at. And I see this people all across the country where they have 12 legal sports books in this state, and 8 in this state, and 7 in that state. You need to have an account with each and every one of those books, and that account needs to be funded. I moved to Las Vegas specifically because guess what? I can bet here, I can bet there, I can bet there, and they all have different numbers. People say, how do I... This is the key to stopping losing bets by a half a point and starting winning bets by a half a point without buying points. This book's got 6, that book's got 6.5. Oh, later in the week, that book's got 7.5. You can find that variance from book to book. And all you got to do over a course of 100 wagers, turn 2 losses into pushes, turn 2 pushes into wins. You'll be stunned at what that does long-term to your bankroll and your winning percentage. And that's what having outs means.
That's funny because when I first moved here, I worked for a little company called Don Best, and you had to pay a lot of money to get that information. Or your option was to go sportsbook to sportsbook to sportsbook.
Sure. And look, the WagerTalk's got a great product, the Odds Logic Live Odds screen. It's fantastic. Get a free 7-day trial right now, oddslogic.com/Teddy, and you'll see what we're talking about. But yeah, I got it in. Yeah, but it's a good product. I have no problem. I like promoting it because it gives you in real time all of these sports books and the current numbers, and you see stuff. Hey, the market's starting to move. I better make this bet right now. Oh, the market's moved this way already. I can wait till later in the week to do this. And this book's got a 6. This book's got a 6.5. This book's got a 7. If I'm laying, I'll find the book and lay with the 6. If I'm taking, I'll take the book with the 7. And you don't have to open up every app. It's all right there in one place. It's a really valuable tool having a live odds screen. Again, oddslogic.com/Teddy. Free 7-day trial.
Kelly, another thing to do, obviously the outs, but also the VIG. Different books offer different VIGs. And right here at the Westgate where we're filming today, they have a lot of times reduced juice. It's a course of a season, you save 2 cents, $2 on every $100 wagered. That's going to add up on course of losses. But here's a homework assignment. We talked about those half points. Next football season, sit down, get a ledger. Every game that you lost by a half a point, write it down and see how many there are at the end of the season and how that would have changed your season if you pushed that half-point loss.
Sure. And we talk about the half points. There are times throughout the course, one common mistake bettors make, they'll only bet at one time. All right, kickoff's coming in an hour, we better make our bets right now. The savvy bettor is going to make bets Sunday night, Monday morning. That's what the WagerTalk NFL opening line report is all about. What are good bets Monday morning to make? Where's the line going to move? So a better bettor, or one of the mistakes that many beginning bettors make, is I'm only betting at this specific time. If you want to do this at a higher level, at a professional level, you have to be ready to fire away from the minute the lines come out, basically until the minute they close.
That goes back to an earlier video about bankroll. And the reason some players don't do what you're saying, the correct thing is they don't have the bankroll to bet a game on Monday and have their money tied up till Saturday or Sunday. They want their money so that they can bet the Monday game, the Tuesday games, the Wednesday games, the Thursday games, and they're going day by day. Again, treat it like a business.
Yeah, listen, we know NFL, you don't want to be betting the closing number, generally, right?
Well, if you're playing Contrarian, you do.
Well, this is what Teddy's reading my mind over here. But what I've seen more consistently as of late, here in Vegas, they have house players. Somebody comes over from the casino, wants to bet $500,000 2 hours before kickoff. Sportsbooks are getting called from the casino manager saying you got to take this bet. They lost $1 million on the blackjack table last night. And then things start to really change. So you're right, Teddy. Marco, you said this as well. most of my bets are in before we start bet on it, the show on Wednesday. So Wednesday, let's call it noon Eastern. But sometimes, and as we've started to see the shift with more people getting involved in the marketplace, that's no longer the case. Can you kind of touch on that just to kind of put a bow tie on the line shopping?
Well, sure. So when you talk about what numbers are available, and Mark, you talk about write down every game that you lost by a half point all year. You'll often consistently see lines move a point, 2 points, even 3 points without an injury, just based on how the money has come in. And of course, those opening numbers that come in are often, this book will hang a 2, that book will hang a 6, and the market will decide which book is right. And usually they tend to come together. So I don't know if that answered that put a bow on it at all, Kelly, but that's the point I was trying to make. Marco will put a bow on it.
I think Marco can, but I do think this, Marco, because there are thresholds of where I'm looking, right? Let's use college football. I'm looking for underdogs, outright underdog winners. A team may be 4.5, and I'm just like, I'm not really that interested. I do like them. I do think they have a shot to win, but I'm looking for that touchdown underdog. Come Friday night, come Saturday morning, they may be a 6.5 point underdog. The market loves them, and I say, all right, I said if it hits 6, I'm betting this game, and then I get involved. Where it used to kind of be the other way, where I'd get that 6.5 on a Tuesday, and they'd close 4.5 and then get blown out. It's kind of been a weird shift.
Kelly, another tip for bettors, we talk about getting the different books. We use the phrase square and sharp. There's square and sharp books as well. And here in Vegas, and I'm not going to call out any particular ones.
Why not? Tell them where the square books are, because they want to know when they go on their odds logic screen who's sharp and who's square.
Let me tell you that it's the ones that cater to the locals. Okay, those are what I like to refer
Stations, coast, formerly known as William Hill.
Oh, yeah. Those are, remember Bodog back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a very recreational sports book. If I'm betting an underdog, I was finding my best number there all the time because the average sports bettor, the squares, gravitate to overs and to favorites. You're generally going to find your best numbers at those kind of books. Now, if you're betting underdogs, you're going to have better luck, or underdogs there. If you're betting favorites, you'll have better luck at the sharp.
I'm going to say this. One of the things I've noticed now that it's become a nationwide thing, I live in the state of Florida now, we only have one sports book. Do you remember who I bet against last year a lot in college football? Mario Cristobal. And you know where I bet every single week?
Yeah.
At the Hard Rock. Because everybody is going to bet on Florida. They're going to bet on Florida State, and they're going to bet on Miami. And I got the best number, whether I was taking Cal, whether I was taking Virginia Tech, any of those teams, I got the best number in the state of Florida. And that doesn't happen all the time. So maybe check out your local. You live in Tennessee. You live in Illinois. You live in some of these other states. And you want to bet against the hometown, home state team. You may get a half point better than you would versus your local.
Yeah, and of course you talked about the different times of the week. Bet this on Sunday, bet this on Tuesday, bet this the hour before kickoff. It all, people throw out. I've seen some horrible betting advice. People are like, oh well, you can't bet the day of the game.
Why?
Yes, you can. Or you can't. Or all your bets should be in already. It's like I talk about strike price. All right, and this is a key concept for mistakes that bettors make. Is all right. I like this side, but I'm not laying a touchdown. I'm only going to at -6. That's my strike price. And if I don't see a 6, I don't bet it. If I see a 6, boom, there's your bet immediately. Whether that 6 comes on a Sunday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Friday, an hour before kickoff, whenever it is, having a strike price in mind is a key component to knowing, yeah, I want to make my bet now. Yeah, let's hold off and wait till later.
All right, Marco, last mistake that you think we need to do on this video. What is a huge mistake that these guys, I mean, I know there's a ton of them, but give me something else that you think bettors make that is a very common mistake.
I just think they make two-betty parlays. Okay?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Well, because they've made...
What percentage? Okay, so I do one parlay. We're going to use me as an example. I bet a lot of college underdogs. One parlay a week. I pick 3 underdogs to win outright. It has to pay like 35, 40 or better to 1. It's a fun little parlay. It is 0.5% of my bankroll.
And if you win one, you made a profit for the year.
Yes.
Exactly. Because the legalized sports books, the FanDuels, the DraftKings, they tweet out every time somebody hits a $5 lottery ticket. So everybody thinks that is the way to go. They want to do that. Little money to win big money.
Of course.
Do you know how many parlays they've cashed prior to paying out that one that paid $150,000. Okay, all those add up. You're not going to get rich doing that. It's a grind. You know, what's the cliche? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Sure.
There's a reason.
And know this, books make more money off of parlay bets than any other type of wager. There's a reason that they're not promoting straight bets the same way.
There we go. Common mistakes that hopefully you guys will never make again. Thank you to Marco. Thank you to Teddy. And thank you to all of you guys for hanging out with us here on an episode of WagerTalk TV. If you guys want to check out some other videos, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another one.
All right, Adam Trigger here. It is Monday. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend, and it is time to talk some Major League Baseball free picks and best bets right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Let's get right into it with Twins headed to the Bronx to take on the New York Yankees, and very interesting scenario with the Twins, and something we did kind of predict on our Total Bases show. The Minnesota Twins set a record for the number of people they traded on deadline day. Or at the trade deadline. I think it was 11 in total. And, you know, which was shocking, I would say, to some, because the Twins weren't that far out of the race. And, you know, it was surprising to see them go full fire sale because it still felt like they were sort of hanging around on the fringes of the American League wildcard picture. But that's the way the Twins went. And so the way the market went when that happened was to sort of price the Twins as this bottom option. And what we talked about on the Total Bases show was like, hey, like maybe pump the brakes on that. They have a lot of good young players in this organization. They got back some really good young talent as well. And as that starts to get into the Twins everyday lineup, we might see them actually play pretty good baseball. And that is exactly what's happened. And if you watch our Total Bases show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, you would know that because we started talking about it the day that the Twins made all those trades. The guy I was waiting to get called up, and this is, again, something we've been ahead of the curve on, we've pointed this out, was Luke Keschel. He was up earlier this year. I truly believe he would be having a monster season right now had he not got hurt. I think he broke his arm. I think he fractured a bone in his arm that kept him out for a couple months. He came back, had some reps at AAA. Ever since they called him back up, he's been their best player. And, you know, some of the other additions like Alan Roden comes over from the Jays organization. He's getting a chance to play. And then just getting some of their own guys back, like an Austin Martin, who's found his way up into the lineup every once in a while. Just getting some of their own guys the chance to play every day has benefited this team tremendously. And if you look at the makeup of this team, yeah, they traded away some guys that are you know, solid MLB players, but most of those guys are in the bullpen. Guys like Brock Stewart, Joan Duran, Griffin Jacks, and you know, there's been some other Minnesota relievers that have stepped up and filled the void in that regard. And suddenly, this Twins team is priced like a bottom option. Yet they're, in my opinion, they're not as much different than they were prior to all the trades. It's just some different faces. And so it's really made the Twins big time value on a day-to-day basis at this point. And you know, that's what we saw all of last week. The Twins were big underdogs in Detroit. They ended up taking 2 of 3. And then over the weekend, a more competitively priced series, but take 2 of 3 at home against the Royals. So It's a team that's playing good ball right now, and I still think you're going to be able to find great spots to back them. I actually think you have one here, especially with the Yankees money starting to creep into the market. So I would have put this, like, we do a total basis parlay where we pick our best bet for the show and then sort of parlay them together. I would have used this if the price was what it was now. Earlier this morning when I was doing the show, it was like Twins plus 1.5 was something like minus 150. Now I'm seeing it in the minus 130 to minus 135 range. And if the Yankees keep taking money, this might actually end up on my client card. So Twins plus 1.5 is the play here. And the reason I like the Twins in this matchup is I'm just much higher on Zebby Matthews, Twins starting pitcher, than the market. I don't think the market, I don't even think some of the people that are betting baseball on a daily basis, even really like that don't really watch the games, really like understand what they're getting with Matthews. And so, especially if you don't watch minor league baseball, you don't understand what you're getting with this guy and where the upside is. So Zebby Matthews last year flew through the Twins organization. He's an older guy because he went to a 4-year college. And so he pitched, all the way through college. So he went to Western Carolina. By the time he graduated, he was already older. And so last year, he was still an A-ball as like a 24-year-old. And, just throwing strikes and having a 97 mile an hour. Listen, if you have a 97 mile an hour fastball and you're throwing multiple pitches for strikes, you're going to fly up the ranks in the minors. And that's exactly what he did. And then what happened to Matthews last year was he got to the big league level and he is so accurate. He just lives around the plate. And unfortunately, if all you're doing is throwing strikes, that'll work at AA. That'll even work at AAA in a lot of cases. But when you get to the big leagues, if all you're doing is putting the ball right over the plate, even if you have decent command in the zone, guys are going to figure that out. And that's what happened to him a little bit last year. Now, this year, again, the numbers are deceiving because if you pull up very quickly your score app and you'll see Zebby Matthews 5.17 ERA, but like that's just at the big league level. If you look at AAA this year, Matthews has a 1.72 ERA, a 225 batting average against, and a 109 whip. And the reason he's even been at AAA so much is he's battled injury. He had to work around an injury that caused him to shut it down and then get it going this year. So he did need to spend some time down there just from a rehab standpoint. And then it just hasn't always gone his way when he's got to the big league level. But that's also very difficult. It's tough having to sort of work around injury mid-season. And I think he's been able to do that. And now the last couple starts, he's looked like the guy that I think we expect him to look like. Big fastball, 6 shutout innings against the Nationals. He pitched really good in his most recent outing. I think that might have been the Royals. But anyway, he has been very, very solid. And it might have been the Tigers, which is even better. He's been very, very solid in terms of the way he's thrown the ball. It just hasn't shown up in his numbers yet. So in my opinion, you get a very underrated starting pitcher and a very underrated team that's just playing with a lot of energy right now at plus 1.5. Where on the other side, you have a Yankees team that's really starting to feel the pressure. They still make a lot of mistakes, and they're going to go with a guy in Will Warren who is I would argue is a worse sort of prospect right in that same sort of age range, 26 years old. It's his first full season at the big league level. So you're getting a worse pitcher and a team that's just really finding ways to beat themselves at this point in the Yankees. And yet you still have to lay a 1.5. I'll fade that all day. So the Minnesota Twins plus 1.5 at minus 130, we'll call it minus 135. That's a great bet. And if this thing comes down any farther, I may have to add that to my client card because I just love the way this team is playing right now. And I still think they're big time value. Another thing I love, I got a 5%er tonight. Listen, 12-3 to close out last week. We're really starting to move in the right direction. Back-to-back winning months in June and July, and we're already off to a great start in August. Last 60 days, I'm the number one handicapper in terms of units gained on the WagerTalk website. So it's been a really good 2-month run, well, 2.5-month run, really. And we've got a 5% max bet going tonight. I hate like that. I'll be honest. It's one of my favorite spots of the year. One of my favorite bets of the year. 5% is our max. But this is, if I were to rate out the max bets I've made this year, would be very, very near the top of the list in terms of Like if I could go 6, I probably would in this scenario. And when I put the full analysis in, I think you'll see why. That goes tonight. It's up now, and you can get it at the link at the bottom of your page. All right, I'll go a little quicker on this one. Listen, I'm going to try to give you the picks quick. I know there's people that watch the Total Basis show that want to learn a little bit. That's why I go a little bit longer on these videos, but I have far less to say about this one. So I used most of the time on Twins Yankees because I actually might turn around and play Twins plus 1.5. I don't think I'll have a best bet in this game, but I'll give you a free pick, and the free pick would be the Rangers, minus 155. They're at home against the Diamondbacks. So we're going to talk Rangers D-backs, and I really think this one is this simple. You have Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. He has been as good as any pitcher in the majors this year. He has a 0.84 whip for a starting pitcher with 111 innings so far in 2025. It doesn't get much better. That is an insane mark. To see a starting pitcher with a sub-1 whip that's got over 100 innings pitched on the year, you just don't see that very often. He's having a tremendous season. If you look at his StatCast page, it is all red. Pitching run value, he's in the top 1% in the league, and he's pretty much in the top 1% in almost every category. Expected ERA is like 3. That's unheard of, which means he's just the numbers he's putting up. This 1.38 ERA, 0.84 WHIP. It's not like he's getting lucky. Like that's roughly, he's pitching good enough to theoretically maintain that, it just speaks to what a season he's having. And, from a spot standpoint, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than this for the Rangers. They get swept by a good Phillies team over the weekend, whereas the Diamondbacks have just been, they've been at home against the Rockies. I mean, you want to talk about a contrast. You have the Rangers playing one of the best teams in the league in very big games, over the weekend. And it's the Diamondbacks have been playing beer league softball against the Rockies pitching staff. Arizona in that series, I mean, yesterday was ridiculous. 13 runs on 17 hits. The night before, they actually needed to kind of come from behind in that game. Still ended up racking up 11 hits. Like the Rockies pitching staff is just atrocious right now. So now they turn around from at home, getting to see that type of pitching. And what do they get a day later? They get Nate Eovaldi. That's going to be an issue. I think the Diamondbacks bats probably go quiet here. And as much as I've talked about Ryan Nelson being like a plus arm, I do like him. Like he's a guy that I'm probably higher on, or I've been higher on than the market, I would say, since last year. The one thing I've noticed with him this year, now that he's really been more of a regular starter at the big league level, he really is like, he has a big fastball, and that's kind of it at this point. I mean, he's going to come out, he's going to throw 96, and he's really going to just sort of run it in there with a little bit of movement, see it, hit it, and he's been able to beat, guys in AAA, and then, early on in his big league career by doing that. The problem with Nelson is he doesn't really have a second pitch that's great. And so, you could throw the fastball all day and you could get by spotting the fastball. But at some point, if you don't have a secondary pitch as a starter, you're going to start to get exposed. And that's why some of his expected sort of numbers suggest that we might see some regression off of what's been a tremendous season to this point. 3.2 ERA, 1.05 whip. Whereas he's got an expected ERA in the 4s, and it makes sense because at some point the league is going to start to get a beat. And if they're not hitting the 4-seamer, if they're not hitting the fastball he's throwing the majority of the time, they're going to wait for a flat slider or a curveball that hangs up in the zone. His changeup, he leaves it up once in a while. He doesn't throw it very often, but when he does, it's more of just like a change of pace pitch. And you're going to see big league hitters figure it out, wait for that pitch, and probably hit it out of the ballpark. So Nelson, I'm less optimistic on the rest of this year. I think he needs an off season where he goes and really develops a good second pitch. And so to me, he's almost become a little bit of a fade the rest of the way because of that. And I'd certainly be willing to play against him on the road, and then knowing I'm going to have Eovaldi on the other side. You're not getting any value. You're still going to have to lay $1.55 with the Rangers, but it's the best way to go in this one. I wouldn't bet the Diamondbacks here. This just doesn't set up well for Arizona. And I think the Rangers get a win that they absolutely need. So 2 free picks for you right there. That's Twins plus 1.5, one that I'm going to keep my eye on and maybe add to my client card. And then you've got Rangers on the money line. Not going to make a client play at that price, but I do think I very much think they win the game, and maybe you can parlay it or find something to do with that. If you want my favorite play of the day, and honestly, it's one of my favorite sort of plays of the season at this point, head on over to WagerTalk.com. It's my 5%er. It's going tonight, and I hope to have you join me on that one because I really, really like this spot. WT.buzz/AT. You can see it scrolling on the bottom of your page. And don't forget, Monday through Friday, total basis, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. I'll see you guys in the morning. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating a nice win. Have a great day, everyone. Cash all your tickets, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to Wager Talk TV. Kelly Stewart, also known as Kelly in Vegas, joined by Teddy Covers and Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. Today, we're doing a little roundtable discussion. Something I really enjoy. The pros versus the Joes. And as the resident contrarian bettor at Wager Talk, I love when some of my favorite Joes are against me on that college football Saturday morning. I got that underdog Teddy, and I'm feeling so good when I see they laid it with the favorite.
Sure, but I mean, I think people spend a little bit too much time worrying about who the pros like and who the Joes like. And let's not forget, the Bucs are going to lose a lot of those games. All they need is one of the big public sides to lose, and they'll be okay because that kills all the parlays. So it's not a scenario where every time that the pros are against the Joes, automatically you want to be on the pro side. In fact, there's lots of times I don't mind being on the Joe side. In particular times of the year, October NFL, all right? And the concept here is the same. The pros are always going to look at the longer-term picture, what teams were supposed to be, what the advanced metrics are saying. The Joes are going to believe what they see with their eyes. And when you talk about specific times of the year, like October NFL, every year in October you see 2-3 public weekends where the public, the books are like, we got destroyed again. And all the pros are like, we got destroyed again. And the Joes cleaned up and hit a bunch of parlays. So the NBA Finals or the NBA playoffs are a great example of that, where if you're watching the games as a Joe, you're going to see stuff that the pros who are betting the long-term statistical profiles aren't going to see. So there's something to be said for the Joe side of this equation. It's not a scenario of pro versus Joes. And as a bettor, the longer I do this, the less interested I am in who the pros like and who the Joes like, to be perfectly honest.
That's interesting because Marco and I chat all the time with our good friend Gianni Detroit, and then he'll say, wow, 10 pros all on the same side. What could go wrong? It's almost like it is a kiss of death.
It is sometimes, but the counter to what you just said, Teddy, is yes, they're going to have their short-term runs. Yes. But I'm in this for the long term. In long term, they're going to lose. Yes. And I'm just going to tell you, just look behind us. Do you see these screens? Do you see this 4K video wall here at the beautiful Westgate?
I do.
Okay. Do you know how that got paid for?
Yes, from casino revenue.
Yeah, casino revenue. And the Joes, okay? They're not tearing the books apart. That's why you have these elaborate sports books. I've been doing this since 1980, okay? Our goal, two things, and you're a guy, and Kelly, you love to talk about, the closing line value and everything else. We're always looking for the value. What you see in a recency bias with what happens on the field, on TV, especially when a team was on TV the week before. Monday Night Football, okay, they blow somebody out. Automatically, that's the best team in the NFL. Sure. 1 week, because they saw them blow somebody out. Where's the value? Next week going against that team.
Teddy, let's talk about that, because if you guys haven't seen it, Teddy hosts a very early Monday morning first to market show, opening line report. And that is one of the things that you do touch on. What did we see on Sunday?
Sure. And how real is it, and how much is that going to carry forward, and how much is the team fat and happy, and all of that. So it's not
I believe it's fat and sassy, but...
So he says fat and sassy. I've been saying fat and happy, and he's been doing it since 1980. He's older than me, clearly. But my expression has always been fat and happy, and that's one that I've been using for 30 years, maybe, not quite the 40 plus you have. But the basic scenario here is Don't worry about who the pros have. Don't worry about who the Joes have. Handicap the frickin' game and decide which side you like. If you handicap the game and you see 90% of the pros are on this side, doesn't make me like it more, makes me like it less. If I handicap the game and 90% of the Joes are on that side, doesn't make me like it more, makes me like it less. But it's not a scenario where I'm going to get on a play just to fade the public or just to back the wise guys. That'll never happen in my world.
Marco, last word.
Last word. It is a little story for you, real quick. Go back to 1980. I told Teddy this story earlier today. Everybody
I can't go back to 1980.
Well, I'm sorry, you're a youngin', but here's the thing. Way back in the day, we didn't have bet percentages. Okay, you didn't have the sites like Odds Logic that we have at WagerTalk and our screen. Back in the 80s, back in the bowling alley, I used to pay the local bookie that was the runner. Remember the parlay tickets?
Oh, the parlay cards.
Yes. Sure. Before he would turn them in to his boss, I paid him to tally those up and let me know what everybody was on, because there's nothing more public than Joe Public from a bowling alley circling those parlay tickets. So I was ahead of the bet percentages before we had the bet percentages.
That said, things have changed. And in the modern betting world, fading the public as a betting strategy?
Well, let's back that up. Are the Joes more educated? Is that what it
much
comes
more
down to?
educated. 1,000 times more educated than they were 40 years ago. That doesn't make them better bettors. But
your favorite phrase, square sharp. How many times do you say that?
You're right. There are square sides, but again, the square sides do win. I think pros versus Joes, sharps versus squares is synonymous.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's something to consider. It's not anything that's going to generally get me on or off a bet. I like to handicap the game, and then maybe if there's a huge consensus one way, all right, that's going to talk me off it. Maybe if the pros like it, if the wise guys like it, you've already lost the best of the numbers, so you're not probably betting it anyway.
Right. And the pros will be wrong. I'll tell you a perfect example. Remember a few years ago, and I do a show with your buddy, John Murray, every week? Every week we talk to him. Oh, the sharps are all on the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that year?
And let me jump in one more point, because it's key to note. We talk about the wise guys, the sharp money. They're very content cashing 54% of their bets. 54%, they're going to make a big profit if you're betting big money over a long sample size. That's not a huge edge. In poker, you call that a coin flip, a 55-45. In sports betting, you call that a huge edge. I'm not going to do it. So there's lots and lots of bets that the pros are going to make that are going to lose. And to follow them,
All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe to not miss another video here on WagerTalk TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Prop. If you are new, we always start this show by being transparent. I know we didn't do any shows over the weekend, but I mean, things have just been going well lately. I think I've had 5 winning days in a row, so we'll try to keep that going here on this Monday. Vino, haven't talked to you since Friday. Hopefully the weekend went well for you. How's everything? How you doing today?
Yeah, weekend was good, Ski. I'm kind of with you there. I'm trying to do the math in my head as I look up numbers, but the last 4 days have all been profitable here, all sports, WNBA included in that. So yesterday, 2-2, but a profit because the 2 bigger plays came from the same game. Sparks team total over, Sparks Seattle full game over. Both ends of that hit, so it was a pretty good cash on that. So happy with the way it's going, and look forward to getting into another week here.
All right, let's get to it. We only have one game. It should be a quick and easy show here today. That game is Connecticut Sun at Golden State Valkyries. Opened up -9 for the Bucs, down to about 7.5 everywhere right now. Same for the total. Opened up 157.5. Down, the lowest I'm seeing is 154.5. So kind of all over the place for that total. For injuries, I don't see anybody on there for Connecticut. For Golden State, Mo Billings is out. Maria C is out every game. And we know Kayla Thornton has been done for the year. So it's in a couple people for Golden State, but this is a chance for them to get some revenge here, Rob. You know, last time these teams played, Connecticut, I believe, won by like 30. Yeah, the score was 95-64. Just got embarrassed in that one. Now the Sun are playing their 4th straight road game here on a back-to-back. Do you think, I mean, I know we don't usually look at Golden State as, you know, the big favorite team, but in this situation, you know, still fighting for that playoff standings. Do you think they can get the job done by 7.5, or how are you looking at this game?
Yeah, and those playoff standings that you bring up, Ski, they're getting jammed pretty tight here. Golden State actually in the 7th slot right now, but one game, or actually in a virtual tie with Seattle, right? Seattle's just played a couple of more games, so Golden State has 2 at hand. Half a game ahead of the Sparks, only a game and a half ahead of the Mystics. So those 4 teams within 1.5 games. So big game for the Golden State side, which I have to tell you, off of the defensive job that they did against the Sparks the other night, held the Sparks to 59 points. Sparks only had 20 buckets in the entire game. And then you see the Sparks go back out and do what they do last night to Seattle by scoring 94. And I tell you, you can hang your hat on this Golden State defense. Now for Connecticut, and I'm usually a guy who thinks things will come back to the mean, this would be regression. In Connecticut's case, they shot 51.5% from the field last night. Connecticut's not that good of a shooting team, but against Las Vegas last night, they put up a lot of points. The minutes weren't that taxing, Ski, but as you mentioned, it is the 4th straight road game for them, and you just wonder if it doesn't get to them a little bit here. I know they've got some reinforcements now in the lineup with Aaliyah Edwards, who actually played last night for the first time for Connecticut. I would tend to think this is an under, honestly. I don't think that Connecticut will shoot that well against this Golden State team. Especially, you know, that game against the Sparks, I think was first game back home after some road games. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was. And they totally shut the Sparks offense down. So I'd figure that to happen here to Connecticut. I don't think that – maybe you could look at Connecticut team total under while you're at it, because I think that's the side that will be lacking in points here in this game. Golden State, not the straightest shooting team either, but they do put up a lot of threes. Some nights they go. I think if I had to, Ski, I would be on under. And it's been pushed that way. I think 157.5 down to 155.
Yeah, it definitely is being pushed that way. I mean, I'm not going to lie. My first thought on this game is, you know, important game for the Valkyries. Can't lay with them. What else can we do? Bet on their defense. I mean, that's what I did last game. I had Sparks team total under. Cash pretty easily. And I mentioned this in that breakdown as well. Let me see if I can get this up here. Boom. And I know I got to push the button one more time. All right, so pretty much just looking at the Valkyries and revenge spots this season, they are 8-1 to the under. Also, opponent's team totals 8-1 to the under. And you see only the aces, and that was that one spot I believe where the aces were off that embarrassing game that they, allowed 100 points in that one. But other than that, they've been holding everybody down. Now we can question, for whatever reason, unrested teams usually go over in the WNBA, whether it's the lack of defense on their side or, the other team overlooking them because of the spot or whatever the case may be. They do usually go over. And you see the only one that went over was this unrested aces team. I'm curious if we get something like that from the Sun here tonight. But other than that, I do understand trying to back Valkyrie's defense. Let me try to put one more on here, Ravino. And this one is maybe a little bit opposite of how you're looking at it. You're saying there might be some regression, but this one says different. So I don't know. It's a lot of different ways, but I'm going to put this up there and we'll see. You can see this, right?
I got it. Yep.
So pretty much it's unrested road dogs after shooting 38% or better from 3 on 23 plus attempts. It says that they still cover in that next game, 6-1-1 ATS, 7-1 to the over. It says that it doesn't stop after one game. I don't know. These things make me a little nervous here. Any thoughts on either of these queries that I'm sharing?
Yeah, conflicting queries, right? Ski, one would lead you right to the under 8-1. The other one leads you right to the over 7-1. So in that case, where you have technical trends as strong as those two on opposite sides, I always start with the players on the floor. And I just feel like Golden State, the other night was a big game to me. They played the Sparks, and the playoff standings are what they are. They knew they needed that win, and it was locked. If you can lock down the Sparks, you could lock down just about anybody. And Golden State's been rested. There's no reason to come out here flat, in my estimation, at least on the defensive side. I'm looking at Connecticut's team total right now is 74, and I know they've been a little bit better of an offensive team at times over the course of the last 3 weeks, but I still think that Golden State can do the job defensively here. And like I said earlier, either one, Connecticut team total under or full game under, I probably would try. It's a tight spot, actually, Ski, because Golden State can get loose and make some threes at times, but they play such a slow pace. It's hard to see it just getting up and down. So to me, full game under is probably my first look. Connecticut team total under. As they say in horse racing, when you have an entry 1 and 1A.
Fair enough. And this game is kind of tough for me, but this is the only one that we have for today. So unless there's anything else you have on this, then we'll just move it right along, Rob.
I can't even think of a player prop, honestly, Ski, and I'm not a big prop player, but I can't even think of one that I would be interested in here. Asia Wilson did do some damage, and you look at last night and you look at the front line for Golden State and think maybe somebody there could do the same, but nobody's in Asia Wilson's category, so to speak. So nothing to add there for player props.
All right. Well, that means it's about best bet time. So I'll pass it right back to you. I'll ask you if there's anything you would like to promote. And if you have a best bet for the show, we would love to hear it. And if you do not, it's all good.
Real quick here, I will just say promotionally, I probably would like to promote, actually, Ski, for those of you who use a line service, an odd service to track game movements like Ski and I both do, go over to WagerTalk.com and you can actually sign up for what's called Odds Logic, their newest, and lightning speed odds service. Odds Logic give you injury reports, the fastest, they're the quickest to the line moves, everything you would want to have at your disposal. You can get a 7-day free trial to try it out for yourself. So I would say that from a promotional standpoint, I would recommend that to anybody who takes it on a day-to-day basis as seriously as guys like Ski and I do. You have to have those types of tools at your disposal. So go over to WagerTalk and check out Odds Logic and hop in on a 7-day free trial. Best bet ski. I can't leave you with one because I didn't bet one. Made my thoughts pretty clear here. If I do bet this game in the end, it will probably be full game under. I think 155 is just a little too much. I think if Golden State wins this thing with 80 points, then it has little to no chance of getting over this total. So, and they may not even win it with 80 points. I think they might win it in the high 70s. So that's the way I'm looking at it, but I won't use it as a best bet because I didn't play it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'll say I might be a little bit opposite here, probably. You know, if I play this one, I might be trying to bucket and go the opposite way. I just think that, I mean, if you look at numbers wise, this Sun defense has been the worst all season long, even worse than the Sparks. At any point, they can revert. And being tired on a 4-game road trip on a back-to-back, we can see Golden State get whatever they want. Could be just wide open threes, wide open layups. Who knows? And especially they have motivation after getting whooped on by 30 in their last meeting. So I'm feeling the opposite way. I haven't played it yet, but I could maybe get there with an over. People keep pushing this down. That's a little bit of the way that I'm looking at this game. But I haven't made a bet yet, so can't share a best bet for the show. That's it. Nothing else left to say around here. Tomorrow we have 2 games, so we got a little bit more to choose from. They are better games too. I don't think I promoted anything, but I will say I'll have a bet up for today. So if you want to get ahead of the game, might be looking a few hours on my page and I'll have something up. Also, might want to subscribe if you want some of these tennis plays. I've been betting tennis every day. I've been doing fairly well. Like I said, we've had 5 straight winning days. So I didn't pick any yet today. Doesn't mean I won't for the rest of the day, but just putting that out there. So Vino, it's been good doing the show with you. Like always, enjoy breaking the games down. Helps out my process, and I'm sure it helps out everybody else out there. We appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody watching Twitch, X, YouTube Shorts, Kick, Spotify, Apple. Just want to let you know you're much appreciated. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will catch you guys